Electricast.
It's basketball season, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Missing the Point. We're here to talk basketball, the round thing into the other round thing, the great game that we all know and love. We're going to talk basketball of all stripes and figures today. Maybe a little bit on the WNBA, maybe a little bit on the NBA, maybe a little bit on the finals. Maybe we'll solve racism. I don't know. We've done it all before. Real quick, though. Did you listen to Houdini?
No.
Everybody's mad at Eminem.
So you know what's funny? First thing I thought of was I'm thinking Houdini, like Friends. How many of us are there? Like I thought that's the thing I thought of. Sorry, old school guy here. We're both old school guys there. Well, I did hear the track. Listen, this is what he's been doing for years.
Tell me about it, buddy.
Yeah, he's been doing this for years. He's always missed the shock value, and he's never going to be what you always want to hear from him. Whether it's just Lose It, whether it's Without Me, whether it's Lose Yourself.
Whether it's Kim, whether it's Kill You.
And which is my personal favorite song from him. I thought that's one of the best stories ever told on a song. I thought it was incredible there. So this is what he does. It still sounds better than 90% of the stuff that's being put out now. So, but talk about divisive. He always causes a stir, and he's going to continue to do so as long as he continues to put out music. But let me be clear, I am an Eminem fan, and once again, people always tell me like, "Oh, like he goes into a car and says, play that new Eminem." There's a lot of artists that y'all fucking rock with or listen to, that we're not going into the car listening to in 2024. Regardless, whether they're brand new, whether they're old school, like let's not let's not go there. You know what I'm saying? So once again, I enjoyed the track. Once again, it was on brand for him, and he does what he does best. And once again, I know none of you new wave rappers better call his ass out, because he'll put him to bed real early.
Yeah, they don't want that smoke. I also am with you. I really think this is a generational issue, and like not and also like a level of hip hop knowledge issue, to be honest with you, to be perfectly frank, because like if you come to me and tell me that Eminem's not top 5 all time, then like I'm going to ask you what your top 5 all time is, and I'm going to tell you that everybody on that list has Eminem in their top 5 all time. So it's fine if you don't think that he's one of the GOATs, but I question your rap knowledge if you don't have him like pretty high up. And I think that like everybody saying, "Oh, well, you're not asking for that Eminem joint to like go on when you get in the car." It's like, yeah, I am. I fucking love all those songs. What are you talking about? Like I play that shit all the time. So yeah, there's part of it's nostalgia. I mean, a lot of the songs are from like, a different time in our lives, but also like I think he's made some bops as well.
Oh, sure. I mean, honestly, like me personally, like and mainly because I've always loved the collabs that he's done with Rihanna. I listen to Love the Way You Lie at least 4 to 5 times a month. Like that song will continue to get streams because of yours truly. Like I love their collabs. I didn't love Monster as much. Like I said, Monster was a good song too, but I was like,
Monster's probably got the most radio play of like anyone.
Right, yeah,
correct. That shit's on the radio every 10 seconds. Like
exactly. So it's like that. No Love with Lil Wayne.
I like that one.
Not Afraid. So like there's plenty of songs that we can get into. Till I Collapse, when they do, like, are you kidding? Like, come
Till
on,
I
man.
Collapse is amazing.
Yeah. We ain't with the game. Like, stop it. Like, don't let it. It's too much. In the words of Fat Joe, it's too much. It's too much. There's too many to go in. Too many features that he's been on that killed it. He did a joint.
He crushed every single person he was ever on a song with. By the way, I know these are things that people say about him all the time, but I'm just trying to educate the younger generation. Like, you have to understand what it was like when Renegade dropped and Jay-Z was literally on probably the biggest rap heater of his career. Like, you maybe not business wise, he's probably just gone from strength to strength there, but like from a rap perspective, Jay-Z was at the top of his game when Renegade dropped. And Eminem murdered him on that track. It was, and Jay was good. I would put it in top 10 Jay-Z bars, maybe ever. And now that I think about it, maybe even top 3. And he's still good. He's really good on that track. He gets fucking killed. He gets killed by Eminem. Like when Eminem comes in on that song, since I'm in a position to talk to these kids and they listen, I ain't no pilot. And you're just like, oh my fucking God. Like what this guy is just like he's a gunslinger. So
Yep.
and also like what I have to say, just lastly on the subject of like if you're coming for him, it's not gonna work. The scarier groups than you have tried. And it's satire. What he's doing and what he raps about is satirical. He doesn't think and believe 90% of the shit that he says. I wouldn't say 100%, but like 90% of the shit. And lastly, one thing that he's always been incredibly consistent about, and these are themes in his music, he has an incredible amount of respect for the rap music genre. And he entered it with an incredible amount of respect. He's treated it with a reverence of somebody who has a deep knowledge of the music and the history of it. And if people want to make it about him being white, we've also had that conversation already too. Like that's like that conversation happened before you guys were born. Like we've had that conversation. It's fine.
But listen to, I mean, granted, obviously they're close to him, so they are biased, but at the same time, they are 2 of the biggest hip hop artists of all time. So listen to how 50 Cent speaks about him. Listen to how Dre speaks about him.
Right.
Listen to how Royce the 5'9" now speaks about him. They had a little beef.
They had a little beef for a second.
Yeah, they had a little beef, but I'm like now
that Bad Meets Evil album that they did, right, and nobody cared about.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like, but nobody did shit about it.
I like that song they did with Bruno Mars.
Yeah,
that's Lighters. I thought that song was dope.
Yeah, it was fine.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, granted, I didn't want to say it wasn't much replay value on that. I have to say, in my opinion. Me
neither.
Yeah, I think about the Book of Ryan album from Royce the 5'9". That song Caterpillar is fucking dope that he's on.
Yeah, he's good. No, he's good.
It did, like, once again, the fact that we're giving you an 8 to 10 minute segment off rip about that should let you know, one, that we're fans, but then 2, like don't tell me there aren't people that's in our age group that don't listen to him and then don't admire what he's been able to do in his career. Once again, has every record been dope? No artist has had a dope record time after time after time. You know, except Michael Jackson, in my opinion, but that's just me. But that's a whole different genre. But like I said, I've enjoyed his career, from My Name Is to what he's done now. So but it's like I said, Houdini, I think the more people listen to it, I think people will adapt and maybe like it.
It's not even that bad, dude.
I just had a quick brain thing. Like I said, as soon as I thought Houdini, I thought about the Friends song and Freaks Come Out at Night. Those are 2 classic choices.
But also, dude, like the fucking Houdini song, like the shit he says, like is not that bad. Like it's not as bad as some of the stuff he said in the past that made like the boomer generation's head explode. It's like I remember I was there as a kid when he was talking about murdering his fucking wife. It's like if you guys are mad about Megan Thee Stallion shot at the feet line, if you're mad about that, you really do not go listen to the rest of his discography. I really encourage you to not explore his music because you will be so beside yourself with rage. Some of the shit that he said over the past 30 years. And I mean, the thing is like, we're not dead yet. Like the Eminem generation is still sort of like knocking around. And in fact, you work for us for the most part. So at this point, you just use it as an intelligent tool to have insight on the people in your life that maybe are, in their early 30s now. And realize that when we were teenagers, we were listening to that stuff and we didn't give a fuck either. And we might be overcompensating now in our old age. We might be swinging the pendulum back the other direction because we maybe went a little too far when we were younger. But yeah, we were circling, screaming, I don't give a fuck with the windows down and the system up the entire time. So That's just who we are. That's who this generation is. And honestly, lighten up, guys. Like, lighten up. He's not the enemy. The guy rapping about fucking dildos and Michael Jackson's hair being on fire is not your enemy. The fucking people that are like bombing countries in the fucking Middle East and like collecting profit from selling weapons to like overseas oligarchs, they're your enemy. It's not Eminem, I promise. This is just a distraction. This is just to get your head out of the game. You'll see. In the words of the late great and wonderful Sinead O'Connor, fight the real enemy. Okay, just remember that.
Look, quick aside
This is a
about her.
basketball. This is
Yeah,
a basketball
quick aside about her.
podcast.
She had some really great interviews on
She's
the
unbelievable.
show in the early '90s.
She's amazing.
Great interviews with him. So if you love watching late night talk shows, they weren't much better than Arsenio Hall. She was always a great there. Her,
That's
Sandra
amazing.
Bernhard, like they were awesome.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I'm gonna go watch those for sure.
Yeah. I'm a nerd for that stuff. So yeah.
No, she's the fucking best.
She was in tune. She was
incredibly authentic individual and like a real straight shooter. Probably could have been a lot more financially successful if she wasn't so fucking mouthy. But I think that's what I like about her. You know,
that's what I like about her. Yep, correct.
Yeah. She didn't fuck around. She had she was talking about she was having the level of conversation about human rights and civil rights and the treatment of people around the world that we're having now in like 1992, if not even more advanced. Her understanding of that stuff was truly awesome. And she was a fucking hell of a singer. I know that Conor McGregor is problematic, but there is something so dope about when he does his entrance and like he does it. The start of the mashup is Sinead O'Connor singing the Foggy Dew. And that song is so fucking powerful. It just, if you do feel like it's like, you're a warrior poet about to descend the hill and like go into battle when you hear that beat. No one's done a real remix of it for a hip hop song. And I'm like, guys, it's right there. Like you got to take that shit and do something, just put some bars together on it because it slaps. Okay, this is a basketball podcast, but you know, we were talking about the culture for a second. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's all encompassing. The culture is all encompassing, and it's why when you fire up NBA, it's not just a basketball game. You know, you get to skateboard around the city and buy shoes and sweatshirts and records, and it's all part of it. So your one-stop shop for all things knowledge here. Missing the point. How about Caitlin Clarke? I don't think we've discussed her on this podcast, much to my chagrin, because she's part of the national conversation, and especially the national sports conversation, and I think for good reason. I think my perspective on her, just like overall, is she like finally a female athlete came along and played at the level where the dumb like girl sports jokes became unfunny. Because it's like if you make jokes about her and it's like, oh, women's sports, she couldn't do X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh, you obviously haven't been paying attention. Because like if you just watch what she's doing on the court and also like understand the game of basketball, you just put those two things together and you're just going to have a little bit more respect, I think. Because I saw her in that 3-point shooting competition against Steph, and I was like, she's a bucket. Like, I mean, there's no, like
that was Sabrina Ionescu from New York, but eventually,
really, I thought it was Caitlin Clarke.
No, it was Sabrina, because
even better.
Either way, they were comparing those two. I want to make sure for people trying to jump on us there. We know who both players are.
I just thought it was Caitlin Clarke, but either way, both things are good for the
eventually it will be her. Eventually.
Yeah. But both things are good for the women's game. You know what I mean? And like when you're starting to get this sort of level of national attention where like these multiple female athletes can sort of compete at a level that like just smashes those jokes. You know what I mean? Like just makes those jokes and like the kind of comparison silly because you're seeing them operated at a higher level. Right. So, what do you think about her in general? The level of women's sports that we're sort of rising up to, and also the kind of controversy that seems to be brewing a little bit in the women's game since she's entered. Is there a target on her back? Is it? I mean, if it was the men's game, would we be talking about it in the same way? I'm just curious to get your thoughts on the whole sort of deal now that the zeitgeist seems to have shifted to make room for women's sports.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that it's dope that they're being put on this stage. I think she really came into people's living rooms really about 2 years ago. She had put on a really good performance at Iowa. And, my homeboy Gary Bush had made a post about her. And I was like, I hadn't heard of her. I had watched some other women talent at the time, but I hadn't, she wasn't on my radar, excuse me. But after I saw those highlights, I was like, oh, okay. I said, she could definitely shoot it. She could pass it. She is in the Big Ten, so you kind of want to see maybe if she could do it against some better competition. But man, that championship game last season against Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers, that was a hell of a game. LSU obviously came out on top and won the national championship. But man, she's a walking bucket. Angel Reese is a hell of a player. Camila Cardozo is a hell of a player. Rickea Jackson from Tennessee, Cameron Brink that came out of Stanford. And when I think about this class as a whole, the WNBA maybe in about 15 to 16 years really hasn't had a class like this. You think about in our era, we had Candace Parker, Tamika Catchings, Lisa Leslie's of the world, Teresa Weatherspoons when we were growing up, Tisha Penicheiro that was in Sacramento. They'll start at Sue Bird. They were few and far in between of great players all at one time. Like people came and started.
Yeah. You need a generation.
Yeah, you need a generation. And this seemed like the 2003 NBA draft, but for them, right? And because they're getting this much hype coming out of school, yeah, I think naturally it's human nature. Although you're happy for their success, you feel a bit slighted, and I think more as a competitor than anything else. I think as a woman, they're probably standing in unity. Shout out to Queen Latifah, but I think that they're looking to compete against her, and they're looking to make sure that she's not coming in to dominate. I think it's personally crazy what I've seen from Matt Barnes and I'm trying to think some other pundits that have talked about Jeff Teague, who has the 520 podcast. And once again, these are really dope platforms that these guys are on. So when they say or they allude to, you should let her score or let her get to this height so that you keep growing the game. Well, she's already growing the game because she's in the league. Quite frankly, I think it's disrespectful that they feel that she should be they should let her score and let her dominate and then, start playing better defense or, really competing against her. Like, to me, there's a disconnect there. And once again, it's only being said because she's a woman. You cannot tell me otherwise.
But who is fucking saying that, though? Whoever's saying that.
Matt Barnes said it. Jeff Teague said it. I know there's some others that feel that way too.
That's so stupid. You guys played the game. Why would you think that? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, why? Like, that's one of the all-time dumbest fucking takes from an individual that understands and plays the game. That's like that sounds like something like an executive might say, not a former player. That's just the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, oh yeah, like, make sure people don't think that this is why nobody fucking defends in the NBA. That's why they're saying it. It's like, make sure that, like, nobody takes the fucking competitive nature of your league seriously. That should do wonders for your stock.
And but to me, it's like that wasn't being said for Candace Parker. That wasn't being said for Diana Taurasi. That wasn't being said for Sue Bird. That was
because Caitlin Clarke's this big volume scorer.
No, right. No, I get that, but it wasn't being said for Lauren Jackson, Ella Delle Donne. Like I could go on and on, but it's like that's insane. My personal favorite women's player of all time, Shamika Holtzclaw. Shout out to the Tennessee Volunteers. Like she's my personal favorite of all time, but it's just like that wasn't being said about these girls. So it's just like, to me, you should want to see them compete at the highest level. I don't know why people thought she would come in and just straight dominate. I get it. We saw what she did in Iowa, and like I said, it was lights out from the jump, and she's pulling up from 30, literally. But these girls see that. They're like, yo, like, no, like, it ain't sweet. It ain't nothing sweet. Ain't nothing sweet, but you dessert and catering. That's it. Ain't nothing sweet on this basketball court. Like, we coming to give you this work. And I love it. She's going to figure it out. Once again, you don't get drafted number 1 to go to a great team unless you're James Worthy. James Worthy is the only player in any team sport that was drafted number 1 after a team had won a fucking championship. and he got the number 1 pick, and James Worthy was a Hall of Famer and Hall of Fame talent, obviously. So that's the only time that's happened. So you don't go to a great situation at 1. So it's just like that, to me, is mind-boggling. But like I said, she's putting on for the league. Angel Reese is putting on. Camila Cardoso, when she comes back from injury, is going to do well. Cameron Brink has done well in LA. Rickea Jackson's done well. So once again, there's plenty of new, fresh talent that's killing it and going to be stars in that league for a long time. Once again, you know why that stuff is growing over there? One, because it's being talked about in the media, right? So the media is helping grow the game, because that's the job of the media, regardless of what we would think. Their job of the media is supposed to grow the game. That's part of it. And then 2, people are coming out to support. And that's all we were saying before, because that was an argument before. Like, why don't y'all support the WNBA the way y'all support the NBA? Well, people have to want to come see the product.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta
not
make the product good. It
trash.
doesn't go the other direction.
Yeah, it doesn't go
It's gotta be good.
yeah, you gotta want to see the product. So
I mean, nobody feels bad for baseball.
right,
Nobody.
correct. But even then, like that now, baseball is back up because the game is quicker.
Yeah,
With the pitch clock and
it's not
you
at the same level. But you know what I mean? It's just like it's
yeah,
great.
it
I've
wouldn't
started
be
to
4 hours again like it was.
right.
We were growing up, obviously.
Let them
Uh,
have steroids. That's what I say. It was never
yeah,
better. It
yeah,
was
you
never
hear that,
better.
Aaron? That's my guy. Aaron. You hear that, Aaron?
It was never better.
Bring back steroids, baby. Yeah, that's
It
the
was never better. All these fucking roided up, big necked freaks just coming out. Barry
right.
Bonds looking
I
like a
love it. I
different
love
guy
it.
one
I
year
love it.
from one year to the next. Barry Bonds. I mean, Mike's point about Barry Bonds is always that he had a Hall of Fame career before he started juicing, which is true.
He did.
But fuck it, the whole time, just crush. Like it's fine. Who cares? That's what we want to see. We want to see home runs.
No, I mean, it's true. And once again, shout out to that statement. If I forget what movie that was, but like chicks did the long ball. So was that She's All That? I don't know if that She's All That with Freddie Prinze. I don't know if that's from that movie. But anyways, either way, it's I know it's from that era. But yeah, I would bring that back. But I don't know. I just think to me, there's more eyeballs on the product than there's ever been. And I said this to you a little bit off air, but it really feels like Angel and Caitlyn are becoming the new Magic and Bird. Once again, we were not around when Magic and Bird were at the height of their powers. And it really just seems like it's causing such a divide amongst sports fans. And once again, I'm hearing from guys that I've never heard talk about the WNBA ever. Once again, outside of saying that a player was cute. Sorry, I'm calling some of y'all out. Sorry. Excuse me. And I'm like, even me, because I said, even on the show, we haven't discussed it as much. Excuse me, I think we might have talked about the national championship game last year, but other than that, we haven't tapped too much into it. But once again, the product is at an all-time high. When we were kids, the biggest players in the game were Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper, Rebecca Lobo, Teresa Weatherspoon, Tisha Venachero, some names I'm forgetting, but those are the big names growing up. But then you had Lil Wade, but then like I said, the Candace Parkers, the Sue Birds, they came into the world. Diana Taurasi, who people think is a GOAT in women's basketball, which I totally get because she has every accolade you would think of: MVP, championships, scoring titles. Like the girl was an issue for a number of years. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I don't know. I just think, to me, enjoy what you've been watching. The women's game is in a phenomenal place. It has grown immensely the last 2 years. It is because of all of them. It's not just Caitlyn. It's not just Angel. It's not just Camila Cardozo. It's not just, Cameron Brink. It is everybody involved. Now you got, Asia Wilson finally got her sneaker deal. Shout out to them who signed her. Kelsey Plume is a problem. The Aces just won a couple of championships in the last couple of years. So it's like they have a lot of talent in that league. Now everyone is just seeing it on display. Partly people want to see Caitlyn succeed. Partly people don't, and that's just all it is. People hate.
I mean, that's the recipe for fandom, though.
Yep, it is.
If you look at the largest fan bases of individual athletes in the world, it's made up of a certain portion of people that want to see them win and a certain portion of people that want to see them lose. Like, if you go on any Conor McGregor post, like the first 3 comments are going to be like, fucking cocaine. Oh, he sucks now. He's washed. And it's like, you guys are just still engaging, though. Like, all this stuff is just engagement, positive or negative. It's aggregated the same way.
It's same thing with Braun, right? And that's something we can get into that too real quick before we get into the finals matchup. It's amazing to me the hate that Bronny's getting too. It's unbelievable. Once again, he's 18 years old. 18, 19 years old. And once again, is nowhere near a finished product. Is he his father at 19? Obviously, he's not. Who was LeBron James at 19 years old? Like, how many people could say I was like him at 19 years old? Like that to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, from what it looks like, Bronny's not even Kirk Heinrich at 19 years old, though. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like he might not be a level talent. Like, it looks like he might not be an NBA. I just wanted to use somebody else in the 2003 draft since we're on theme tonight.
No, I like that, but you know what? It's funny that you say that name, because that could be a comparison that he actually turns into, and if he does, that means he'll play about 10 to 12 years. Which, once again,
I don't know. I don't know if he has that. I don't know if he has that in him.
As a defender, there's a lot of stuff he has to grow offensively, but he's as a defender right now, he could probably make a team. But he has to work very hard offensively to be, at least once again, if
Well,
you're
the offense comes
you know,
second
yeah,
to everybody. You know what I mean?
sure.
In
But
NBA level.
some guys have it right away offensively. But I just feel like with him, if he could just become, if you could become Kentavious Caldwell-Pope from Denver, that he'd be fine. Because KCP is a hell of a defender at 6'6", but the thing is, Bronny's small. He's only
This is
6'.
what I was gonna say. Is that he might. It's unfortunate for him because I don't think this is his fault. I don't hate him by any stretch. I agree with you. He's a kid, and I've spent a long time hating his dad. But like that's the sins of the father and not the sins of the son. I agree with you that he is a decent on the ball defender, but I think this sort of the era of a guard his size being able to make it consistently in the NBA because of defending is a little gone because you have the advent of these like longer, good footwork, more athletic guys that you might as well have instead on that roster spot. You know what I mean? Like I think that, I mean, Tony Allen is not exactly a good comparison because he came into the league with elite speed and aerial ability before he got that injury. But if you can say, for instance, Tony Allen at his size comes into the league today with just the defending and the way he defended, like he might have a tough time being recognized. Like maybe, if you know what you know about Tony Allen, you're obviously going to be like, yeah, take him. Like trust me, like the tenacity, like, his ability to actually, his offensive game might not be the first thing we're talking about, but he developed an ability to score in really big moments and make big defensive plays in big moments. And like, we all saw that. So, it was easier to scout a TA guy like that back in the day. I think Bronny says a lot of the right things. I think the players he compares himself to are very smart. I think that his goals for like who he wants to sort of be in the NBA are realistic. I'm not saying he's like completely fucked, but I do think that he's probably fine on the media stuff. Like he's probably pretty media trained at this point because of like who his dad is. I'm sure they've like given him an education on how to conduct himself in order to like not garner negative attention and just be able to hoop. I'm sure that they've been able to like get his brain correct. It, just with experience and also like there's a book on this now. You know what I mean? Like you can figure out how to like get your brain right. So I think, with the exception of the moment, I think will be cool when LeBron and Bronny are like on the court at the same time. I think that's a really cool singular moment that LeBron James really deserves, to be honest, because the thing that he did better than anybody in the history of basketball, and this is unarguable, is he stayed at the level he stayed at for as long as he did. And like that, whether you're arguing Michael Jordan's the GOAT or you're arguing LeBron James is the GOAT, like this isn't that conversation. It's Michael, but this isn't that conversation because he won 6 Defensive Player of the Year awards. But anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not this conversation. This conversation is about LeBron James specifically, and then the thing that was so singular about him was the insane way, in like a la Tom Brady, that he kept, but athletically, he kept an incredibly high standard for as long as he did. He's not a top 5 player anymore, but like he's still top 10, and that's fucking crazy. So
Right. Yeah. No,
that's just insane. Like, and if you don't think that, then like I don't know, dude. Like you try, like So it's an incredible achievement, and I think that being on the court with his son is going to be sort of the trophy moment of recognition and flower giving and applause that he deserves for being as durable and long lasting as he's been and being the face of the league for as long as he was. And I think that's a cool moment for him, and I'm looking forward to him getting it. And if Bronny doesn't make it a team for 10 to 12 years, like you said, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. I think also too, people are really waiting for the younger brother to see what he does too. I think that Bryce seems to already be taller. I think he's already like 6'5", 6'6". So Bronny is as explosive, or he's closer to Dad's explosion. Bryce has the finesse that LeBron got later in his career. So we'll see if he kind of gets that athleticism as he gets older. But I don't know. I just think, to me, I still feel like he should have waited till next year to come out, but I get it. Once again, if you're trying to fit the timeline of coming out and playing with that, I get that. But I want to say this too, because I think the groundwork is being set. The foundation, I should say, is being set. The news came out the other day about the Pelicans moving on from that pick, and they left it for LA. So LA is now picking at 17 this year. If you don't think that that's where he's not, he's gonna get picked by the Lakers at 17, and they're gonna play together. He's gonna get his standard contract for playing again because he's a first rounder. He'll play in the summer league and all that good stuff. He's gonna get picked at 17. He's gonna be a LA Laker. Don't worry about it. It's like I'm ending the speculation right now. I'm telling you, he's not gonna get picked anywhere else. There's only two teams that really can handle that can only pay for LeBron cap wise anyways, and that's Philly and Detroit. He's not going to fucking Detroit. Let's be honest. Once again, he's not coming here either. So let's kill that noise too. Because it was like, oh, like at 54, you think it's something good, Brian? He's not falling that low, and that's not happening. Rich Paul and Braun, whoever the power that be that's behind him, they're not letting him fall that far. I'm telling you, he would be the 17th pick in the draft. He would have his chance to make an impact, and he'll have a roster spot come October. That's not a prediction, as we say on K-Fit Critics. It's a spoiler. Like, so I'm telling you that's gonna happen. So, man, like I said, I look forward to it. Like I said, I hope that he does really well, and like I said, he gets to learn under his dad and other players that's on that team. But he will be a Laker come June. I mean, yeah, well, later on this month he'll be a Laker.
All right, I don't know. I think it's a reach, but I think
so let me be clear. I agree, it is a reach, but so it's coming.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk finals. Finals. I guess the way I wanted to frame this conversation was sort of before we go into the minutia and the details of what we think matchup wise, and we've alluded to a lot of that stuff already on this show. When kind of looking forward, especially because it looked so early, like it was going to be us versus Dallas. So we have covered this stuff, but I guess my question to you, Ray, is what does it felt like people's read on this series is going into it? Because I've personally felt a couple of things are true. One is that everybody absolutely fucking despises the Celtics. I think basketball fans despise them because, depending on their age, they've seen them have a lot of success. I think current fans, even if they're just getting into the game, despise them because they're the best team. They won the most games. So they just, people like to root for the underdog. I get that. I think people don't like Jayson Tatum for, whatever reason. We've discussed several possibilities on this show in the past.
Right.
And, a sprinkling of minor things, like maybe if you're paying close attention to the league, maybe the Ime Udoka stuff, maybe you're a Celtics fan and they've really hurt your feelings a lot over the past couple seasons, seen them lose in the finals and then crash out to Miami. I still maybe cheer for him would be my advice, but it just seems like a lot of you fucking suck at liking them. If you read the internet,
big time.
But that does what it is. What it seems like, and simultaneously, I think that people are really talking about the Mavericks as if it would be an all-time insane upset, like one of the craziest upsets you've ever seen, and I just don't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the way I'm looking at the series is best player in the series. It's either going to be Tatum or it's going to be Luka. And the best player in the series, the team with the best player in the series usually wins the finals. In fact, I can't really think of a time when a team with the best player in the series didn't win the finals. I think you can get through a couple of rounds early on, but if you have the best one guy in the finals, you're probably going to win the finals. Right. I think it's why we bang the drum so hard on Paul Pierce.
Except for those Warriors and LeBron teams, because that LeBron was still the best player in the world. It just he was playing the fucking Avengers, so it was ridiculous.
But at the same time, I think when LeBron won against them, it was because he was the best player in the series. I think when they won, I would make argument against him. I would make arguments that Kevin Durant was the best player in that series, and that's why they won that one. And Steph was the best player in his series. I mean, he was shooting insane advanced analytics numbers that we'll probably never see again. So, yeah, he was the most talented. But I'm just talking about who is going to emerge as the best player in the series, And I think, it's why I was going to say it's why we banged the drum so hard for Paul Pierce, because he had to take out LeBron and Kobe to win his championship. And like a lot of people put LeBron and Kobe at a certain level and then like to not talk about the fact that Paul Pierce came for both of them and took them both out to the fucking woodshed in 2008. And it wasn't like they weren't matched up against each other. You know what I mean? Like I just want everyone to just remember.
No, right. No, facts.
And
But
like
even in 2010, I mean, I know obviously they ended up losing in 7, but you beat D Wade in the first round. You beat LeBron again in the second round, sending him to come down to South Beach.
You think we weren't getting past the Magic if KG's knee doesn't fucking go? We're getting past the Magic for sure.
That I mean,
or 2009. You're talking about 2010.
Next year he comes back. They beat him.
Yeah.
Howard at that time, and once again, people can make the jokes if you want about Dwight Howard, but at that time,
he was a beast.
That man was unfucking real at that time.
He was a beast.
Three. I think 3 years in a row, defensive player of the year, and legit too. Not the jokes that we make about Rudy Gobert. That man was an eraser for real. Like
he was the best.
He got protector. There. It was getting sent to the fucking.
He was the best. He was the best around the rim player in the NBA for 6 years, I think.
Yeah, so it's like you got that. Excuse me, and then obviously like I said, they went 7 with LA. So it's like that run. If they won that second time, it would have been Wade, LeBron, Howard, and then Kobe again. You know what I'm saying? So it's like once again, Pierce always showed up. Even the series they didn't win early in his career, like he always showed up. But I know it's more about present day. So
yeah, I just think like when you're looking at this stuff, a lot of old knowledge comes to the fore. Like things you've seen across the years, no matter how much the game changes. Things you've seen sort of still remain true. And that's one of those old adages. And I think you're going to be able to tell really early in this series, like who is going to win, because it's going to be like, is Tatum emerging or is Luka emerging? Because to me, if there's a chance that Brown's the best player in the series and there's a chance that Kyrie's the best player in the series. And I think there's a conversation to be had about who has the second best guy. I just don't know how much it so much matters who becomes the second best guy, because I think if Brown is our best player in the series, we most likely lose it in 7. And I think that's no disrespect to Jaylen Brown. It's just like the way I've seen these things go. Luka's at the very least, top 10, probably top 5 guy in the NBA right now. If he wins a championship with this Dallas Mavericks team, going through the players that he went through, the narrative around it, I think people are going to be calling him the number 1 player in the NBA next season. And I think it makes sense. It's a little bit closer to when Kawhi won in Toronto and everybody was like, he's the best player just because of like what he just did. Like he just took that team through what he is as a playoff player. The fact that he was able to do it in 2 different situations, the fact that like a lot of people were, if you remember, and I know you do have a long memory for bullshit people say, if you remember, a lot of people were giving Kawhi like, yeah, you could do it in fucking San Antonio. Everybody can do it in San Antonio. Like everybody, like, and it was like, well, they won it once.
They ain't doing sense.
That's what I'm saying. They won it once in that 8-year period or whatever it was since the sort of Manu Tony era. They won in 2014, and he was the Finals MVP. So it's like, okay, and then he goes and does it in Toronto, and injuries aside, we all had to sort of accept, like, all right, Kawhi Leonard is number 1 on the list right now, even if he wasn't necessarily the most talented. Maybe there would have been arguments, whatever. And there haven't been many guys in the history of the NBA that are a guaranteed championship. There just aren't. And like, if Luka becomes that guy where it's like, if you draft him, if you go back in time and you draft him, he'll get you a ring. That's what you're betting on when you draft players. You know what I mean? Like, can that guy, if you draft in the top 5, if you're using a lottery pick to like make build your franchise around someone, and also, I mean, an all-time whiff on Luka, but we don't need to get into that. All-time whiff on our best guy too, right? Like a lot of 3rd overall picks in this series, a lot of 19th picks, a few 26th overall picks in this series, like a couple undrafted guys if we see any Sam Hauser action. Kyrie Irving, I think, is the only number 1 overall pick in this whole series, right? Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, Tatum was going to be 1, but yes.
Yeah, but he was 3, and so is JB.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that like that, there's a little bit of a chip on their shoulder element to this. A lot of cool backstory with Kyrie, obviously, and a lot of that narrative coming into it. But like, what has been your impression of this series, like, and how people are sort of taking it in the national media, and like, how do you feel as a Celtics fan, sort of sitting on the side of like the behemoth and not we're not scrappy underdogs. It's not the IT Celtics anymore.
So actually, to that last point you just said, people have talked themselves into Dallas being the favorite.
Well, Vegas hasn't.
So, yeah, but I'm talking about just fans and what I've seen online, and even some people in the media, right? So Vegas is Vegas. Vegas is going to do that. That's fine. Whatever. Vegas is going to get their money. We know that somehow, some way. But it's amazing how many people have talked themselves into Dallas being the team. Now, to my credit, to your credit, we talked about how Dallas had gotten better throughout this playoffs. I felt that once they beat OKC, I was like, it didn't matter who they faced in the conference finals. I thought they were going to the finals. I was right. I just felt like when you play defense the way they play defense, they were going to be able to match up with anybody pretty well. That being said, shout out to what Austin Rivers said on his new show the other day. Cause I agree with it. Like, I haven't tried to watch too many clips because I didn't want anything to kind of skew my view or bite anyone's take.
Yeah, I do that same thing. I try to avoid some of it, and
it's just like only when I know we're taping it. Like if I know we're taping, I'm like whatever. I'll watch everything throughout the week. But
you don't know what's gonna get in there and just make you think it, and then
right, exactly,
you bite it by accident, and you're like, ah, shit.
Right.
So.
He had mentioned that, and I forgot it, but basically he was basically giving credit to say, like, he was like, they haven't faced a team like, that's what it was. He was like, they haven't faced a team like Boston in his playoffs either. Like, everyone keeps saying what Boston didn't face or didn't do. He was like, Dallas hasn't faced a team like Boston either. And he was like, especially if they come back with KP being healthy, it's a different element, different wrinkle to their offense and their team overall. So that's what it is. But like I said, it's amazing how quickly the narrative switched once again. And this is not about killing Ant at this moment because it's not about that. But this speaks to the point I made and how fickle people are. 2 weeks ago, and once again, those that y'all listen to this, y'all know who y'all are. I'm not even gonna say your names, but y'all know who y'all are. Y'all told me online, on my phone, on whatever way you could reach me, y'all was saying that Luka wasn't close to Ant. I know this because I could post it. Usually it wasn't close. And now all of a sudden, because this man is now in the finals, and because you hate Jayson Tatum and you hate the Celtics overall, now you're like, man, Tatum ain't fucking with Luka. Luka is this, Luka is that. And once again, all the accolades people give to him is rightfully given. That man is an assassin to the highest degree. The man is a problem. He is. Yeah, that cannot be, and it shouldn't be denied if you're an actual basketball fan and an unbiased one. That being said, it's amazing how quickly people change. And this is what we was talking about when Denver was facing, Minnesota in the second round. We talked about this. I said, he's playing well. I said, but the narrative will switch if he doesn't win. And that's exactly what happened because people will love to build and build and build and build you up, like how they've done with Tatum at certain times. And as soon as you have a moment that you find a chink in their armor, they immediately go to attack mode. Immediately. And something else that came to mind, I have to address this. Channing Frye, who was 1/3 of the Road Tripping podcast with Ali LaForce and Richard Jefferson, really good show. I could not fucking believe what I heard Channing Frye say, who I respect his basketball prowess, his opinion. The fact that he said he would take Derek Lively over Kristaps Porzingis in this series, you're smoking dope with fentanyl in it. I know there's an epidemic with it, so I shouldn't joke about it, but it's just like, that's fucking wild. You're smoking something, sir. Something's laced in what you're smoking. Got to be, because you're out of Arizona. So what is going on? That I cannot believe that man said that he would take Derek Lively, over Porzingis at this stage. Unreal.
I mean, because he thinks because he was a 7-footer, but he doesn't understand what it is to be a 7-footer that can do the things that Kristaps Porzingis can do.
It's like, damn. But whoa, what's ironically, They're both big men that were picked by New York. They Channing Frye thing went 8th overall. Channing Frye was supposed to be a guy. Well, and actually, he became that guy in Phoenix, thanks to Steve Nash. But he was a guy that could shoot the three. He was a stretch big. But like I said, he was nowhere near what Lively is right now, and then what KP became. So it's just like, maybe you're right. Maybe he's hating from a perspective, but it's just, once again, these guys, like the Channing Fryes, the Stephen A's, the Skip Baylesses, like, just to name a few, y'all platform is too big. Even Gilbert Arenas too, because the shit he was saying about Steph Curry not being generational talent, that's a whole other thing. That was wild too. The stuff that some of y'all spit out y'all mouths, y'all platform is too big to spew the stuff that y'all spew. And it'd be way off base. I get it's entertainment based. I get it. I'm not disputing that. We're doing an entertainment thing too. We get that. And we thank y'all for those that keep listening to us week after week. Keep doing it. Shit, keep spreading the word. But it's like, we try to give logical takes as well. Everything is not rooted in, hyperbole. What the fuck? That shit's crazy. And like, am I tripping? Because I'm just like, I don't understand it. How these certain takes are being made, and it's being made with conviction. They ain't like they're kind of shying away from it. They're legitimately saying we feel X, Y, and Z, and trying to stand our business on that. So I'm like, I don't know, but I don't know your thoughts on it, but I think it's fucking wild.
I mean, I mean, I totally agree with you, but just to try and put an alternate perspective on it, like, Derek Lively's had a great playoffs. Like, he's had a truly great playoffs, and like he's at 20 years old, he's flying around out there, blocking shots, like, looking super athletic for his size, being like a really good intangibles guy at 7'1" or whatever he is, 7 even, and like he, being a really good intangibles guy at that size just brings like a lot of stuff to the basketball team that you're playing on, and like he was such a disruptor against the T-Wolves, like the way that he was able to sort of the way that they fucked with Luka, and Luka was still, or sorry, with Jokic. And Jokic was still getting his, obviously, but they were, the T-Wolves were fucking with him. Like they were throwing bodies at him. They're built to do that, as we've discussed. Like they have guys of a certain size where like certain switches don't kill them too bad. Although I think Gobert could have done a lot better on a lot of those one-on-one situations, but it's hard to defend that guy. He's doing that. He was then doing that to the Wolves. Lively was like he was kind of disrupting the way that they were trying to generate offense from the forward positions. He was now. I think that the Mavericks were the better team across the series, but they also fully decided that any time Ant went to the rim, he was getting fouled. Like they decided that. They said it was fine. And I think that the Timberwolves played right into their hands, with that strategy. I don't think that they did a good job of dealing with it at all once it started happening. There's ways around that, and like a lot of it is composure based, but Lively is a really good guy to be standing next to the basket if you need him to just be a body to like take somebody out if they're flying towards the rim. And he's a really good player. Now, that being said, in the context of Channing Frye's comments about him compared to Porzingis, maybe there's a little recency bias here because Kristaps Porzingis basically hasn't featured in a meaningful way in these playoffs. They're not really comparable players at this point, to be honest with you, like on any sort of impact or talent level. I mean, I just gave Derek Lively like a good few minutes complimenting him playing extremely high level basketball and being a really, really important cog in the machine that is the finals bound Dallas Mavericks, a team I have a lot of respect for after seeing what they just did in the much more difficult Western Conference, right? Yeah. So if they do go on to win these finals, by the way, they'll be one of the lowest regular season win teams to win a finals ever. But you gotta spot them 5 to 8 because they're in the West. Yeah. And then like that, the Pistons in 2004 didn't win that many or something, but or they were like a huge underdog or something. But
well, I mean, listen,
for the Lakers, yeah,
Shaq, Kobe,
yeah. I thought maybe they didn't win that many games, but it doesn't matter. So point being, they'll be one of those teams if they become champions. I hope that doesn't happen, but a lot of it is down to how guys like Lively have stepped up in the playoffs, and I'm giving him all the credit in the world when I tell you that it's not fair to him to be comparing him to Kristaps Porzingis in a basketball level right now. Porzingis has detractors where you could definitely criticize some of the ways his game evolved in different eras of his career. You know, who he was in New York isn't who he is now. It was a very exciting prospect at the time, but by the time he was playing in Dallas, I don't know what happened exactly. I don't know the whole biography of like why he was being asked to basically like do what he just completely antithetical to how he plays. But who he is now in Boston and the season he's had, if he comes on the court and you think that Derek Lively is going to be anything but a fucking little gnat buzzing around his head, you're out of your fucking mind, dude. Like he's going to take that kid to lunch every single time when they're around the basket, and he can't move with him the way we spread the offense around the perimeter. Like you're going to be if it's Derek Lively's job, which you're right, it probably most likely is. If it's his job to be perimeter defending Kristaps Porzingis' 3-point shot, man, that kid's going to have a long series, bro. That's going to be tough.
And once again, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna give props too, right? Like I said, he has been great. Once again,
but he's gonna overcommit on these blocks, and he's been
a rim threat at the rim, obviously.
But I think Porzingis can take him out to the perimeter.
Oh, for sure. But I'm like, he's gonna become Tyson Chandler 2.0, and I said that on the previous show. But he is Tyson Chandler 2.0. That is a perfect comparison for him, in my opinion. Great, not a problem. He's a better playmaker already than Tyson Chandler ever was. That I can say.
Yeah, but also Tyson Chandler got given the opportunity to hit a certain age and get that contract year. Do you remember, like before he went to New York, the contract year that he had, he played out of his fucking mind.
Yeah,
he played out of his fucking mind that year. They let him age a little bit. Jesus Christ, like leave poor Derek Lively alone. He's gonna get crucified by Kristaps Porzingis in this series if we get him back.
But also too, boy, he's looking good from what I saw in practice the other day. You know, they didn't leak out too much, but you know, he looks like he's moving around pretty good. But it's just like the thing is too, Chet Holmgren, who's more of a comparison to Porzingis because of his size and how he's built. Chet has some success against them in the second round. Yeah, they lost obviously, but he has some success. So if Chet Holmgren had success against, you know, Lively and Gafford, what do you think a healthy Porzingis is going to do?
Yeah.
And once again, I want to reiterate this because people have selective amnesia. You know, shout out to my grandmother, God rest her soul. That was one of her favorite statements. People have selective amnesia. People have selective amnesia when it comes to what's happened with these matchups the last several years. KG's jersey retirement ceremony was in March of 2022. That is the last time a Luka-led team has beaten Boston. So in the last 2 seasons, they have not beaten them, right? And once again, Luka definitely had the number early on. The game winner he had a few years back. You know, he had a big game here. They had that on that KG ceremony. Spencer Dinwiddie had the biggest shot of the game that day. Excuse me. So I get that, right? He's had some big moments. The March 1st, when they had the current roster they have now, they had on March 1st, they got beat by 30. So it's just like, yes, we pick and choose. We want to put stock into our regular season games. I get it because it doesn't fit the narrative. I get it. But once again, men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie. Shout out to Wayne and Yo Gotti. You know, it's like, I'm sorry. It's like, hey, so, you know, it is what it is. So I just think that, you know, just we need to give the whole perspective before making the claims that we make. But, you know, it is what it is.
I'll put it to everybody like this. Yeah.
Period.
I'll put it to everybody like this. If you're confused about like where these guys' levels are, like I could probably think of like 5 or 6 7-footers that I would want to be going into this series with that aren't Kristaps Porzingis.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could get to 25 before I said Derek Lively. And that's no disrespect to Derek Lively. There's a lot of really good players that play the 4 and the 5 and you know, could do a lot for your team to help win basketball games. But
I want to be clear. It's only because of his age. Once again, I think in 2 to 3 years,
I agree.
We're going to look at him and be like, yo, like I said.
That's what I'm saying. He's 20 years old, dude.
Yeah, so he's 20 years old. Like I said, once again, hell of a playmaker, great shot blocker. And once again, maybe, who knows, maybe the lights can be too bright. Because once again, everyone keeps talking about Tatum folding and Brown folding and, just the Celtics collectively folding. And I'm just like, a lot of guys on Dallas have not been in this moment. Like, I'm trying to think outside of Kyrie, who's been in the finals. And I'm just like, I think obviously Jason Kidd, the head coach, has been, this would be his 5th finals as a player / coach. So I know he went to 3 as a player. No, yeah, he went to 3 as a player. Might be 4 as a player. 4 as a player, and now this is the first one as a coach. So he's had a nice little character arc too to get to this, because it was a sweep for him in Brooklyn. It was a sweep in Milwaukee at times. So he had to work up to getting to this point. And once again, it helps when you have a guy like Luka. Now, granted, he did coach Giannis, but Giannis wasn't Giannis at that moment when he was coaching him in Milwaukee. So I get that, but man, it's not like these guys are all super experienced coming into this. So, and as I said last show, and I'm gonna keep saying it until it unfolds the series, Derrick Jones Jr. is gonna have to show me. If there's anything, I said we can get into strategy if we want to. Again, I'm helping out Derrick Jones every time until he shows me he can hit that at a high rate, hit that 3 at a high rate, or mid-range at a high rate. I'm helping out Derrick Jones Jr. every time, and I'm giving my attention to everybody else on the floor. That's just how I see it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I'm
it gets
following lively because he's a terrible free throw shooter. I'm following him too.
Yeah. I think the Derrick Jones Jr. thing, I don't know. I guess it depends on the other matchups, because like realistically, we have wings that can make him score 0 points a game. But I just think that those wings are probably going to have bigger jobs than Derrick Jones Jr. So for me, I'm thinking he's going to get switched on to White a lot, which there's a little bit of a size disparity. So it's going to depend on if he falls into that Derrick White trap, which a lot of people do, which is like, oh yeah, you beat me. Oh, you beat me to the rim, like whatever. And then when they go up, he blocks it, which I really like. His like kind of trailing defense.
Yeah, Jones can jump out the building now.
He can.
His hops is crazy. So,
but I also think Derrick White's fast enough and long enough to switch onto him on the perimeter where, yeah, he can keep him pretty quiet from 3. I think just hand his face. I'm not asking for
right,
that's what we ask Derrick White to do a lot when we're kind of playing, like if we're playing like a little bit more like bump and run or zone or whatever, we ask him to just sort of like come on and help, because we force the ball to the guy we're most comfortable with having it. You know what I mean? So that's fine. And also he's a break starter, and he should be like kind of looking around the rim for his size for rebounds. So I'm fine with those kind of matchups. On that note, though, you think Tatum's going to have to guard Luka, right?
I know you want him
to. He gotta.
I think the situation is yes, but
but like the situation,
you know who I want. I've been saying in all playoffs about him.
Brown.
You know who I want guarding him. So
Brown.
Yeah.
I think Brown and Kyrie though. Like that's just exciting in my head.
Yeah, I mean
that's cool. No,
who do you put Drew on then? You let him be the roamer.
Yeah, you let him play safety like he does. Like you let him play safety and help.
Yeah, because I'm just like, to me, once again, yeah, okay. And that, I mean, that's what's gonna be like, then cool. Because my thing is, what I don't want to see. I don't want to see what we saw from Minnesota, which they were blitzing them on every pick and roll, and then Lively was in the middle of the zone.
Well, that's going to be a big part of what they're going to try to do when Al's on the floor, though, is they're going to try and hit us on that pick and roll where we drop. And
but I'm like, that's cool, but I don't want us to blitz Luka or Kyrie at the top of the key, because if they get around our guy, once again, I think that we're once again, just no disrespect to Jaden McDaniels and obviously Ant had times when he locked down as a defender. Defensively, when the Celtics locked in, this is the best defensive team in the league. I know people was clamoring about Minnesota, and
Minnesota played some incredible playoff defense at times.
But for 2 games against Denver and a little bit against, like, they really were locked in. I get that, but we've seen it. We've seen it with this team, even before this iteration. Like when they decide, hey, you're not scoring for 5 minutes, it happens usually. So to me, I'm excited to see how those matchups unfold. But like I said, I just don't want to see any blitzing, because I don't want to see Kyrie or Luka get around with the dribble and then pull up for a 3 or pull up for a mid range. I'm okay with going from zone to a little bit of man back to zone, maybe a box to 1 as well. switch up all the coverages you can to make sure that it's not easy for them to score in any portion of the game.
Yeah, I think all that's true, and I think it alludes to a larger point, which is like it's gonna have to be Luka and Kyrie, right? You know, like there's no way that their third, fourth, fifth best guys are gonna be able to compete with our third, fourth, and fifth best guys across the 7-game series. I think that'll be really helpful for runs, for game momentum, and stuff like that. But we got to do something about Luka Doncic, though, bro. Like I hope that I'm not. I hope that I'm exaggerating my fear of him, but like Rudy Gobert gets switched on him in that famous now scene of him basically daggering the T-Wolves, right? Rudy Gobert shouldn't have been on the floor in that situation. But that's a different conversation that I think we already had. I need that to be Jayson Tatum. Like I need that moment to happen. Or if and when it does, I need the guy standing in front of him to be Jayson Tatum. When you say like situationally he's going to be guarding him, that's the situation I want him guarding him in. You know what I mean? I think JB can hit him, tire him out, you know, dog him. Kyrie did this amazing thing in his one-on-one defense against the T-Wolves, where every time he played really, really hard defense, it was because he had worn out the other guy. He just made him raggedy on the other end. And then he was just like situationally like right up in his face, like just doing all the dirty tricks he's learned of being all these years in the NBA, getting in the guy's face, not letting him around him, doing this, that, and the other. That's what I want from Jaylen Brown across all their best offensive threats. You know, I want him just coming through, sneaky steals, you know, momentum. He can keep up with anybody going any speed in any direction. So he can just be annoying, you know, as fuck.
Yeah,
Tatum's gotta pick up their best player in a situation where he's trying to score a bucket to take it to OT or to beat us. And it's in isolation. He just has to. It's just the way my basketball brain works, and I can't ever adopt the idea that like it's team defense, it's positionless basketball. Like this guy should be able to guard this guy. It's not true. It's not true.
Yeah.
It's more true than it's ever been. And there's, you know, the way that this team is built, I understand it. I understand why we play defense the way that we do. But in that situation, you got to just take it to the fucking streets, dude. You got to Rucker Park that shit. It's like, do not let him fucking score, dude. Do not let him fucking score that basket. And that, I think, is the moment that Jayson Tatum also needs for his career. I think that this is a thing that you think he has in him that will shut everybody
we've seen it. We've seen it against KD. We've seen it.
We haven't seen it in a finals game.
No, right. But I'm saying like far as
but being able to play that level of defense, absolutely.
Kevin Durant's offensive player.
Of course.
No, I would take that.
I'm aware that he can do it. I'm 100% aware that he can do it. I want him to know that he can do it in a situation that's big enough for him to take the crown of best player on the best team in the NBA. And that's what's at stake here. And he, quite frankly, I'd give his playoffs a B- so far, which is not a bad grade by any stretch. This team, the way you measure this, they have to be graded on a curve. Okay. If Derek White had Jayson Tatum's games instead of his own, he'd be an A-, right? That's no disrespect to Derek White. We're just grading him on a curve here because I have a certain set of expectations for Derek White to hit, right? I have a certain set of expectations for Jaylen Brown to hit. I have a certain set of expectations for Jayson Tatum to hit.
Right.
And I give him a B-. It's not terrible. You can win a championship with a Jayson Tatum level B- performance, probably. These guys are killers, bro. The thing is we're coming into a series against fucking killers. They are not going to roll over. You got to be a killer back. I don't want to swim in shark-infested waters and not have my own shark.
So this is the thing, right? So we've and I get it, right? Because of what we've seen what Dallas has been able to do throughout the playoffs. And, you know, Luka's been on a tear, Kyrie been on a redemption arc that people think he's on professionally. But my counter argument or question to that is who are they guarding?
Yeah.
Because what I've seen
that's a good point.
What I've seen in the regular season, I've seen Jaylen Brown make that man look foolish. I'm talking about Luka. Made that man get on bended knee And I'm not talking about boys to men. he got on bending the knee and was like, I can't, there's nothing I can do. Made the man look foolish. Tatum has had two of his best games this season against this Dallas team. He had 39 in the first one, and 32 in the second one. I just think, to me, if you're telling me that they think that Derrick Jones Jr. is going to be the primary defender on Tatum, good luck. Because I'm sorry. I just thought, once again, there's no way he may get a few possessions. There's no way he's stopping him the whole entire night. That's not happening. Once again, Anthony Edwards will stop because he got tired. Whether we want to call it a or not, it's a fact. It's true.
Well, he's also a 6'4" point guard.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, so
you're able to do that. We're gonna try to do it to Kyrie. We're gonna try to do similar shit to Kyrie.
Yep. And you put, and that's how you combat that, right? You put Kyrie in the pick and roll.
Oh yeah.
You put Derrick Jones Jr. in the pick and roll. PJ Washington is probably the most versatile defender outside of Gafford and Lively. So, he may have some more success against Tatum, but once again, when PJ Washington was in Charlotte, he was on the grill too. He was on the grill, and he got served with extra rub sauce.
Well, you're right though, because that means Luka's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So same thing. Yeah, so
Luka's probably guarding who? Drew Holiday and
yeah, but
he's guarding Derek White.
Even then, or maybe they put Kyrie on Holiday. Who knows? But my thing is, if they put Kyrie on Drew, it's hunting season. And the reason why I say that is, once again, we know Kyrie can get his and we'll get his. Drew was one of the strongest guards this league has ever seen.
Oh, he should just take him down. He's just taking down low every time.
That's a fact. So if he gets him in the post, like how
every time, go to work. Go to work.
And I'm not going to stop until they switch. So
you got to punish.
That's how you hunt the matchup. You don't necessarily try to hunt them out in a different way. If you see that Kyrie, they're saying, we're going to put Kyrie on Drew, and Drew was in that low dunker spot. Every single time that he's on him, I'm giving it to him.
I think they're going to put Luka on Drew.
Sure. And so what, that means you put Kyrie on Tatum, and even then,
I'm White.
Okay, but once again, even then, Derek White's going to be aggressive enough where if you say, well, we're going to back off Derek White get 25 on you in a heartbeat. And shout out to my boy Derek. He knows where I'm going with this. So he's going to laugh when he hears this part. Y'all keep saying that Tatum is not him, right? Collectively on Twitter, your boy Kendrick Perkins is leading the charge with that. He's not him. He's not this, not that. So I asked Jason Kidd and Ryashawn, the guys are the coaches, the coach there. I'm humbly asking you to sag off Jayson Tatum in this series. Sag off him. You don't need to guard him. Since he's not him, you don't need to double team him. You don't need to do a box of one. Let Tatum go one-on-one against whoever you have and see what happens. Please, I am begging you. I'm asking you. Since he's not him, he's not the guy they want to say he's not. Since he's not that good, he's not top 5. He's not top 10. Okay, fine. He going to tell, just like I said about Derrick Jones. Say Tatum gonna have to show y'all, and I'm begging that y'all do that, please. I am bleeding. If I could get on one knee and get up, I would, and say, can y'all please sag off Tatum, please. Disrespect him and say you can't beat us. That's what I want. I know that's not going to happen, but that's what I'm looking for. I wanted to see if they would actually fall in line to do that, since he's not the guy. Clearly, NBA look at Tatum differently than the fucking media and the people on Twitter. Just saying. But I was told he's not a top 10 guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I understand the sentiment. I don't really want that to happen because I'm still of the mind that his 26% 3-point shooting is a real fucking issue, and I don't want him to be our primary perimeter scorer. I don't think that it's a smart way to build an offense. I think that overall the way we're coming into this game, I do agree with the sentiment. If you do let's make Jayson Tatum beat us strategy, he'll beat you. I agree with you there. I'm not taking anything away from him. I just think from our perspective, the way we should be setting up and the way we should be thinking about it is that he needs to operate to his strengths. And in this playoffs, 3-point shooting hasn't been one of his strengths. I think that with the exception of the Indiana Pacers, no team has been more on paper vulnerable to his game 6 feet from the basket than the Mavs. If we have Porzingis, if we're able to pull Lively out, which he'll have to move, unless, I don't know, you want to put PJ Washington and Kristaps, Porzingis, have fun. I have no idea what they're gonna fucking do there.
No, it probably would be Gafford, Lively.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends on who switches on to who.
But with both Al and
Kristaps,
but with both Al and Kristaps, offensively, we can move those guys away from the rim, right? Like that's something we can do effectively, which means that everyone else that you have sliding in to help in the paint is going to get tortured by Jayson Tatum. I wish he had like 3 more post moves, but whatever. We don't need to get into that conversation now. He did pull out one fucking 6-spin move in the Pacers series where I was like, where has that fucking been, sir? That spin was lethally fast for a man your size.
I mean, he was his first 2 to 3 years in the league. Like, that's actually a shot that was there a lot for him.
Yeah, I know.
And I just think that obviously it's about getting back to that consistently, obviously.
Do you know how many guys have been in the NBA that can develop a post game that gets them past the guy guarding them and to the rim? Like, it's not a very common skill. You know what I mean? Like the way and I'm talking about speed and distance from the basket, the way he can take guys out, move them exactly to the spot he wants to move them to, pretty much like just past the elbow, and spin on them because then he just needs 2 steps to the rim and it's Yam City. That's not a common skill. That's not something that every player can do. Not even players with great post games. Shaq needed it almost right underneath the basket, right? KG was honestly more of a turnaround jump shooter, like kind of prime onwards. He did play really well around the rim. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just that like when he was taking a guy one-on-one in the post, he was probably just going to shoot his unguardable turnaround jump shot on you is probably what he was going to do, right?
Oh, exactly.
I don't mind Tatum shooting from the inside if he is spot up, chest out looking. I don't like his fadeaway, sorry. But the fact that he can go to the fucking rim when there's a smaller guy on him is a talent I wish he would utilize a little bit more.
No, I mean I think that's the biggest setback or flaw to his game. It's doing it repeatedly. And once again, they say, you are what you repeatedly do. I know early on in the year, he had adopted the mindset of like doing more post-ups, and it was working, obviously, right? Because
it was, yeah. And also because Porzingis was there and White is there, so like we can do a lot more, yeah.
Right. So it goes back to speak about the run being flawed or being a fluke. When you're missing a guy that gets 20 and 7 a night, sometimes more, depending on the opponent, you can't say that it's a complete fluke or flaw because they're not fully functioning as a team without him. It's that simple. And actually, I don't need to get demonstrative about that. I don't need to go into a long argument about that because y'all know. But because it's Boston, because it's Tatum, the excuses are out the window. Fine. And that's how you want to keep fine. Not a problem. But whether you think it's an excuse or not, it's what the fact is. And without that change, without that curveball that they've been calling him all year, they handle business. Once again, it's not like they went to 7 with anybody. They didn't go to 6 games with anybody. They handled it. It was 5-5-4. Like that's literally what they did. So I just don't know how we fault them for that in that moment. And once again, I get it outside of the fairway, but there's even some Celtics fans that are dumb and going off about that, where it's like, what else were they supposed to do? If they went 7 with any of these teams, you would have lost your mind. They dominate, and you're still upset. Like that's what I'm like, wait a minute. Like they took care of business early. You tripping about that? So I don't know, man. But like I said, back to the Tatum thing, I just think that he obviously the spacing hasn't been the same. Yes, Al has played above his means per usual. Also, as we record this on June 3rd, his birthday. So happy birthday, Al. You're now 38 years old. Anna, his sister, I told you, Anna, I didn't want to see you until after his birthday. So that's what happened because they took care of business on May 27th. So I'm happy about that. So we'll see you on Thursday night. So we cannot wait because the building is going to be rocking for sure. But yeah, like I said, I just to me, I just want to see what they look like when they're back at full strength because we already know we've seen it throughout the year. You cannot double Tatum when Porzingis is out there. You just can't. You can do a little bit with Al's out there, do a little bit when Cornette's out there. You could not double Tatum or Brown or anybody else on that team when Porzingis is out there because you have to pay attention to them. You cannot just say, well, we're gonna leave him alone.
I mean, it's a fucking matchup nightmare.
It's a matchup nightmare. That's what I'm saying.
Porzingis is out there for him. Like they really had their defensive. I was just looking at their Reddit, like while you were saying that stuff. I was looking at their their fan forum or whatever, and like it's just comment after comment of like they just can't figure out who matches up against who. It's really bad. I'm looking at it. It's like this is on the Dallas Mavericks subreddit. Brown humiliates Luka's defense. Like I just, I'm like,
no, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like that, and that's my thing. It's like people really make points as if it's all one sided. That's what it's like. Yo, the other team plays. That's just like we got on here just talking about what Tatum and Brown was going to do as if there's not another, like they're not playing anybody. You got to play defense. And once again, in the words of Kyrie Irving, when he was super young and he was talking trash to Kobe Bryant, right? And he was just like, you got to guard me. Well, guess what? You got to guard Tatum. You got to guard Brown. Got to guard D. White, Holiday, Porzingis, Horford. Like you've got to guard. You cannot say I'm going to sag off. So you cannot say that. So and once again, if you do sag off or if you're a half step late on an assignment, you're going to get cooked. It's that plain on both sides. It ain't just on something on both sides. If you're a half step late on either side, it's hunting season, and you in it for a long night.
I think that they seem genuinely worried about their ability to guard us. And if I was Jason Kidd, I think I might just go air raid. Like it's like the thing that they do really, really well. And we've talked about their matchups and there's some tough ones, obviously, for them on the defensive side of the ball, but credit where credit's due. Like offensively, they've been the best team in the Western Conference. That's what's gotten them here. The way that they're able to score, the clip that they're able to score at, and they do it in bunches, and it's really fun to watch. To be quite honest with you, the way that they get it done. And the Celtics offense, it does stall itself sometimes. This is just like the kind of nature of how we play. In order to get back into our offense, it takes certain things to happen, and there's a lot of rhythm guys on the team, and it's a Concorde, it's a big expensive aircraft, but it takes like a special kind of gasoline to get it going. And I think the Mavs are going to probably just bank on making these games of runs and being like, okay, their offense is stalling, let's go. We have a breather on defense that may come naturally at times. Let's go. Let's try and fucking score in bunches right now. And they'll pull out plays that they think will work. I think that they'll try their best to exploit any player that comes on the court that isn't one of the top 6 guys on the Celtics. And I'm just saying what I would do if I was coaching the Dallas Mavericks. And one of those things would definitely be to hunt matchups against Peyton Pritchard with the backcourt that they have. I do keep banging this drum. I'm not trying to say that I'm like a Peyton Pritchard hater. I was mad at him when he was opening his fucking mouth last year when we were trying to win playoff games about his minutes. But I think that he's offensively really made a leap this year. I think anyone that's watched him can see that. I think that was pretty evident pretty early on in the season. I'm glad that his contract stuff is sorted out. I think he's an asset to the team in certain situations. Luka Doncic will make that young man cry. It's not, we can't. It's going to be, and it will be a torturous few minutes if we don't react to it quickly with a timeout and a personnel switch. Anytime Peyton Pritchard's on the court. If I was the Dallas Mavericks head coach, Jason Kidd, former player, 3 NBA Finals appearances as a player, by the way, 1 win, first as the coach, so 4 total. So if I was Jason Kidd with all this basketball knowledge, every single time I saw Peyton Pritchard on the floor, I would put Luka back on and hunt for a matchup against him, to be 100% honest with you. I think that there's things they can do to Al Horford, even though he is our 6th guy. I think there's things they can do on the pick and roll, and we've talked about what happens on the drop with him. I think their backcourt can exploit that. I think that there's ways for them to score. I think that there's ways for them to manage games. I think they're a good road team. I think we're a good road team, and I think they're killers in crunch time. So there's ways for them to win this series. There's ways in, and I agree with you that these matchup things are nightmares. And I also agree with, I think, what your overall sentiment is, which is those ways that the Dallas Mavericks have to beat us, the Celtics have to let them do that. The Celtics have to be making mistakes and let them exploit those moments, because if the Celtics are playing their best and they're switched on and they're locked in, you're not beating them. So it's really just going to be a game of guile. We're gonna be seeing kind of I do think it's funny, like Luka Doncic like talk shit to fans, and when it's not us, I do think it's funny. I will be reverting into full-blown Boston homer mode when that shit's going down, and I will be yelling at the TV and probably into this microphone. Yeah, okay, you're going to talk to the guys who just came from the fucking financial district that are in the first 4 fucking rows. Why don't you go up a few levels and see if you can still talk that same shit, dude? I'm like, I don't think you're going to make it back to fucking Dallas, guy. So, like, that's just the way it is. You're talking shit to the guys in the fucking most expensive seats, dude. They're not going to get their Allbirds dirty, okay? It's not. That's fine. That's completely fine.
Thursday night is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'll be there for both games, and potentially game 5 if it gets back to that. I think it's going to be insane Thursday night. And like I was trying to tell some of the young guys that are working there, because it's their first time working the finals, and or really their first playoff run. I said, look, it's been kind of mild so far, because it wasn't really much to get hype about, because it was expected for them to be at this point. I said Thursday, that all goes out the window. I said it would be the loudest this building has ever been all season. So I said, get used to that, get ready for that. I said everything ramps up a little bit. It's going to be crowded. I told it's going to be crowded on level 3, which is the floor level. I said every pundit you could think of is going to be there. We're probably going to escort Stephen A. Smith, because that's what we did last time. Michael Wilbon. I don't think Jalen Rose ain't going to be there this time, because he's not with ESPN no more. But it's going to be a lot. And like I said, it's going to be the fuck Kyrie chance from the beginning. And listen, I want to make this clear too, because it's something where it's starting to annoy me at this moment. The first year he left, or even first 2 years, I get it. I do. I get it, because we lost IT because of it. Jay Crowder was in the deal. We lost guys that were intricate parts of that 2017 team. I get it. And that team is, even though they didn't win, that team is held near and dear to people's hearts up here. Cool, no problem. He comes out with a press conference today saying, hey, I wasn't the best version of myself. Some things that happened. So, okay, cool, fine, whatever. It's been 5 years. 5. And we keep losing sight. Since he stopped on the logo, he has not won here.
It's true.
And won a game here. Once again, and you can call it a gimmicky stat or ESPN stat. It's true. He stepped on the logo, and once again, I didn't think that was a big deal at the time. People, was acting like he shot somebody, but he has not won here since, regardless of what uniform he's been in. I do think it's a mental hurdle he has to get past, which I think he's been. That's why I think he's been so apologetic. I think that he's trying to get himself in the right mindset to come up here, but it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be the most challenging place he's ever been in his career, because it wasn't the same. He didn't get the same fervor in 2017 when he was still in Cleveland. He didn't get it in 2015 when he was in Cleveland coming here in the first round. So it's way different. And once again, can those other guys handle it? Because it's going to be a problem. I'm telling you that right now. Once again, everybody on Boston, and I think except for like the Brissett, like guys that didn't play, they're not going to be out there. But everyone else that needs to play for Boston has been to the finals, except for Porzingis. So I don't know. I just think, to me, that's something to look at. But like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited for Thursday and how it's going to unfold. lot of underlying storylines, but it's going to be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, my team's in the finals. It's an exciting time to be a Celtics fan. It's an exciting time to be a Dallas Mavericks fan. I do think that these are the best teams of the playoffs for their respective conferences. I think that the right teams are here. I don't know what would have happened if the Nuggets and the Mavs faced off. Maybe there would have been different matchup stuff, but they've done enough to get here, and by that metric, they should have our respect. They've got some really, really good players, and all things. And I'm not saying you haven't respected them. I'm just saying to the wider basketball watching audience, all things can be true and equal in this series. Things can happen that might not necessarily go in the direction that you want them to go. It's going to come in runs. It's going to come in peaks and valleys. But honestly, we've spent a long time running up to this in the playoffs, talking about a lot of legitimate and fair criticisms of this Boston Celtics team. And that's born of the fact that we've seen them make every single step along the way so far in past seasons. At this point, all you should be doing is backing them. At this point, your only job is to shut up and cheer. And don't look sideways at anything else. Don't bitch, moan, and complain. That's what the offseason's for. Okay? Right now, you're a fan, you're a supporter. I don't want you on the fucking parade bus if you can't get up for 7 games. Okay? That's it. Everything else I get. I understand all the context. I understand all the complaining. I've done a good amount of it myself. A lot of it's born of worry. A lot of it's born of frustration. There's something to be said for being there or thereabouts, for being close to the top of the mountain and not being able to get that last few steps. It hurts maybe a little worse than being far away from it. I get all of it. But right now, we're going up against the Dallas Mavericks. We got to show them that we're a united fan base. We got to show them that we're behind these guys, because the only way to see the absolute best version of them is to see the version of them that is fully supported by the team. And also, if you're in the building, you can affect the game. Right. You can affect the game with how you cheer for your team. So I want everybody to understand that you can make a meaningful contribution to the success of this basketball franchise and the history of this organization by not being such a fucking little bitch about every little thing that goes wrong, okay? So collectively, I'd just like to say, all of us, let's get behind them. Let's support them like they are what they actually are. Let's remind ourselves that we're watching the best regular season team in basketball, the favorites to win the championship, and our Boston Celtics. Yep. So for myself, for Hollywood Ryashawn Buchanan, this has been Missing the Point.
Are you passionate about saving the planet for future generations? Do you want to learn how to do it? If yes, then you need to tune in to the Nature Backed podcast. It's a talk show covering the changing world around us, from renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy, to ESG and social innovation. Don't miss this opportunity to discover how you can join the movement and make a difference. Subscribe to the Nature Backed podcast today on your favorite platform and get ready to be amazed.
Hey there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baklaan.
And I'm Eden Alpert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
an Electric Cast production.
See you there.
Electricast. Electricast.